Hi and welcome to the latest edition of Facebook Live with Jack Corbett, Gold Coast Young Entrepreneur of the Year and co-founder of ISR Training and Recruitment. I'm going to pass an apology before we get started that I'm actually in the Gold Coast airport at the moment. I am going to be heading down to Melbourne in the space of the next sort of hour and a half. So there is going to be times throughout this video that there's going to be a tannoy in behind me that's going to let people know what gate they should be at, what person's running late for their flight, so on and so forth. So if that does happen, right on cue. I will do everything in my power to either allow that to complete before continuing talking, or alternatively I'll increase the volume at which I'm speaking so everybody has the opportunity to be able to hear me. So as always, anybody who's been following this over the last couple of weeks and the episodes that we've been doing, we'll always create the first couple of minutes to allow people to come and join us, to get comfy, to get a pen and a piece of paper, and as they're doing that, I would certainly recommend everybody that is joining us to start popping your questions into the comments section. As always, we've been inundated over the last week or so with questions that we didn't manage to answer last time. I do have at the moment 10 of those segregated beside me that I will be working throughout the course of this hour. So I will ask everybody to bear with me. Anybody that knows me knows I'm not a technology person. As a matter of fact, computers and phones scare the shit out of me. So over the course of the next hour, I will be alone. I've previously had 2 assistants working with me to get me through this hour. So I'm a lone soldier, and in the event for any reason the picture quality or the sound quality is not sufficient, then I just want everybody commenting to let me know that as soon as is possible. So yeah, I'm heading down to Melbourne across the course of the next couple of hours. I've actually been booked by one of Australia's fastest growing luxury travel brands, a company called Luxury Escapes, bringing me down to work with their inbound and their outbound sales teams. So I'm going to be offering some guidance and some advice on Swish, how to sell with integrity, how to sell honestly, how to build clients in the long term, and make sure that every single prospect they have is converted into a client, and then those clients are treated with the level of wow that they deserve to inevitably turn those into loyal customers for life. So I will apologise for the casual clothing. A few people who can see the logo on my shirt and also who are aware of my personal hobbies and beliefs and would know that I'm a strong Aston Villa fan. Today's a little bit of a deja vu moment for me. I'm sitting here with my club's colours on, and we're actually on the best run that we've ever been on in my lifetime. So since the year 1990, I was obviously born in 1991, Aston Villa have never won 6 games in a row. So really, really proud right now of my team and of the pride, the passion, and the purpose that they're playing with. And as well as that, another real deja vu for me is that exactly 1 year ago today, on the 5th of February of 2017, I actually asked my wife-to-be, Brielle D'Amico, if she would marry me. Funnily enough, that I was on holiday in Bali at in a place called Seminyak at a hotel called Double Six, which strangely enough we booked through a travel company called Luxury Escapes. So I very much believe in the law of attraction. Anybody who's ever read any literature by Rhonda Byrne, Bob Proctor, for example, would know how the law of attraction works and the power of positive thinking. It's actually something that superstars like Conor McGregor, Michael Jordan have actually held in testament to the reason why they believe they've been so successful and managed to achieve all the things that they've ultimately set out for themselves in life. And when I booked through Luxury Escapes, I was of the opinion that whilst their product was fantastic, I didn't believe that their sales methodology was as good as it possibly could be. And I tongue-in-cheek mentioned to my fiance that I was of the belief that if they gave me an opportunity to work with them, I could significantly increase their revenue. And sure enough, exactly 365 days later, I'm in the airport on my way heading down to Melbourne to go and do exactly that. So for anybody who is watching this video that has big goals, has big dreams, I'm strongly of the belief that if you can create vision boards, write goals, outwardly affirm your desires with a level of consistency, then they will inevitably move a hell of a lot closer to you. So as I mentioned, as always, we're just going to create the capacity for a few people to come and join us. I understand that we're doing this at a very different time. We usually have these lives at more like 5:30, 6 p.m. when everybody's finished work, when our British and European following are getting up in the morning. But unfortunately, my schedule this week has determined that I just simply wouldn't have the ability to do that. Even when I do arrive back on Thursday from Melbourne, Thursday evening, we are at the Creating Ripples Ball, which is our charity that we're sponsoring this year, which is supporting women in business. Anybody that knows myself and Ryan will know that we are massive advocates for women in business. We feel like there's not enough activity, there's not enough energy surrounding young female entrepreneurs and the talent that they have, the efforts that they're committing. So we definitely want to keep trying to bring as much national media attention to that as is physically possible. But also then Thursday morning we are with one of the sharks, Steve Baxter. Fortunately for being Gold Coast Young Entrepreneurs of the Year, we did win a course of training with Steve Baxter, so we're going to be with him in Brisbane on Thursday morning. So between all of that and then also golf, which is my personal hobby, on a Friday afternoon, it really just meant that there wasn't a capacity for us to do this live at any other time than today. So not expecting as many people to be engaging with us live, therefore what can happen in that circumstance is there's not always as many questions. But as I suggested, if you do have questions, if there's anything that you would like to learn about personal professional development, about longevity in business, discipline, finance, there's really no set metrics around this conversation today. We have previously had tangible subject matter, i.e. how to nail the first year in business, how to start, grow and sell a business. Today there is no framework to this conversation. I've got an hour, I'm here in the airport, and I'm at your disposal. So regardless of what industry you're in, what challenges you're facing in life, we would highly recommend get your questions into the comment section, and let's find out what it is that you want to know, what you want to learn, what insight I can give you. And I'll do everything in my God-given power to do that. As I said, I do have 10 questions at my disposal right now. But just to make sure that the sound and the picture quality is okay with the half a dozen people that are with me, can I just get a yes in the comment section just to inform me that you can hear me, that there isn't a level of static around the video at the moment. Just want to make sure that I'm not harping on for the next hour, throwing truth bombs at you guys and all of it's just being distorted. So just give me a yes in the comment section if you can hear me clearly, if you can see me clearly. That would be fantastic. Thank you, Courtney. All right, let's dive in with the first question then. The first question is actually revolving around finance and around wealth creation and property investing. As many of you may know, myself and Ryan do not only own a training and recruitment agency, but we also do own a financial planning and property advising firm as well. So the first question has come from somebody who met us at a seminar previously, who's popped through the question. That's actually coming from beautiful Ipswich, so thank you to anybody that's in Ipswich that's viewing these videos. It says, do I get pre-approval for a mortgage before or after I choose the house that I want to buy? Great question. Definitely one of probably the most common mistakes of first home buyers is the first thing that they'll do is go out shopping the property market with no real knowledge of whether they are eligible to obtain finance, how much they are able to borrow, and therefore the price point that they should really be shopping at. So whilst there is no right or wrong, and there's certainly no textbook way to be able to do this, I would suggest from my own experiences, I did exactly that. I got excited, I knew that I had enough money saved up, or what I believed was enough money to be able to put a deposit down on a property, and then I went out and I started looking at what properties were available to me and were tickling my fancy and were within the price point that I had previously set out. Then unfortunately, when you do find a property that you want, a good real estate agent will look for you to put that property under contract as soon as is possible. And what you will find is there'll often be two clauses in that purchase of a property. The first clause will be a finance clause, so a certain amount of days to obtain an unconditional approval for finance to buy the property. And then secondly will be a period of time for which you are able to complete a building and pest inspection, so structurally assess the building and also ensure that there are no pests like termites, so on and so forth. So what does occur is if you go and purchase the property, put it under contract and then contact your bank, you're actually putting a level of urgency on the bank for how quickly and efficiently they need to deal with your application. Now you may think that that's good because it's going to kick them into action and cause them to act more efficiently, but what it actually does is puts more pressure on you. The bank can begin to draw that process out. It might take them 21, 24, 27 days before they come back to you with a formal offer. And because you know that you will only have 1, 3, 5 days at your disposal before the clause is going to expire in your contract, it can lead you to often accept the very first offer that you receive. Bearing in mind the first offer is very rarely the best offer, and usually will be one that's in favour of the bank instead of in favour of yourself. Thank you, Michael. I'll try not to put the microphone so close to my mouth. I'm assuming that was making the sound quality better, but I'll actually refrain from doing that. just give me a quick yes to let me know that's made it a little bit better now that I've left it alone. But yeah, long story cut short, my advice would be it makes more sense to engage the financier before you go and purchase the property. If you can go and get pre-approval on an agreed interest rate, at the moment as a first home buyer in an owner-occupied space, you would really be looking to try and get a loan in and around that region of about 4% interest. Then it would make more sense to definitely engage the financier first, making that as efficient as possible and also getting yourself the best deal. Don't always just think the best thing to do is to go to your bank. Often they prey on the naive. It can work out in your interest to actually contact a finance firm. A couple that I would recommend down in Varsity Lakes if you're in the Gold Coast would be the likes of Hallmark Finance, alternatively Platinum Finance and Surface Paradise are two really good options of brokers that will go and shop the banks for you, get the best possible rate that they can, and then present that rate to you. Once you've been pre-approved, i.e. you can borrow $400,000, you know that you've got a first home owner's grant and you've also got your own capital. You might know that there's $450,000 at your disposal. Great, let's start going and viewing properties that are within that price point. So that answers that first question. As I say, I know that not as many people are going to be present in this live conversation today, but if you do have an opportunity, you are with me and there are specific questions you'd like to ask, you will always hold priority, so make sure you pop those questions in there. I am at the Gold Coast Airport at the moment, just about to fly to Melbourne, so there is going to be a little bit of background noise from time to time, but we'll try and work through that to the best of our ability. So the second question is, do you think there is a stigma around young people in business? Do I think there's a stigma around young people in business? Yeah, a little bit. I think sometimes in certain industries, people will assume that if you don't have enough life or tangible business experience, then you may not be in a position to give them advice or guidance. You may not have been through recessional patterns, you may not have been through business hardship, which leaves them wondering whether you actually have the tangible qualities and the tangible experience that's required to be able to give cutting-edge and world-leading advice. But at the same time, I think we very much live in a digital and social media-based age, and I look at the individuals that we obtain our social media advice and our digital advice from, and they're often in their early and mid-20s. You know, I think it really depends on what the industry and the market is, but I think sometimes the biggest stigma around age in business is actually the stigma that the young person places on themselves. I started my first business when I was 14 years of age, wholesale and confectionery. I went on and actually ran a business here in Australia when I was 19 years of age. I ran a business that had 45 staff, and I look back and think at that time I was the youngest person in that organisation. So to be able to manage, lead, inspire, motivate people that were significantly older than I was, were significantly more experienced than I was, I placed a stigma upon myself, and I questioned whether I believed I was of adequate skill set to really give these people the managerial assistance that they required. So do I think there's a stigma in young people in business? Not so much. I mean, we're in the age of the entrepreneur. We're in the age where no longer is it really about how old you are, about how experienced you are, about your location. I mean, I remember the days when people said business is about location, location, location. You had to have bricks and mortar in the right setting to gain exposure to the general market. Well, that's not the case in the modern day. You know, any young kid in their mom's basement with a good idea and an ability to put themselves and rank well on Google and have a good social media presence has an ability to be able to take a product to market. So I'd summarise that in saying I feel in 2018 the only stigma around young people in business is the stigma that the young person places on themselves. That would be my opinion. So I'm going to keep firing off questions here today. I definitely want to look at how I can answer as many of these questions as physically possible. Some of the feedback we've been receiving from my previous live videos is that there's a lot of me waffling and there's not always that much substance, so let's keep rolling through. How do you stop caring what other people think of you and what you are doing? Great question. That now conforms directly and is the polar opposite to the benefits of the digital and the social age that we live in. And I believe that we are in an age of style over substance. I think as long as it looks good and it sounds good, it doesn't actually matter if it is good, because we are probably the most fickle consumers that have ever existed. We don't want depth. We just want appearance. We want stylistic substance. And the reality is that because we are so fickle and our attention spans are so short, as long as it engages me for that small period that I'm wishing to use it, then it doesn't really matter whether it's something I intend to do forever. So how do you stop caring what people think? I think it's easier said than done. We're in an age whereby people will base their opinion of themselves on how many likes they're able to receive on a post, from how many people comment on how beautiful they look in a photograph. So as we are stepping and looking to really go full circle, and you'll see this, it'll happen. It's happened, I mean, the food industry is probably the biggest turning point for that. We are very much back into a green, raw, organic, vegan, non-GMO age and generation. So as people go back to what had previously worked, you're seeing that in fashion as well. As we're going back to our 1970s crop jeans and Dr. Martin boots and Parker coats and polka dots and floral, which 10 years ago people wouldn't have looked at twice, but it's very much back in again. And I feel like we will go whole circle. And the way I would summarise it is time now to stop caring so much what people think and start caring how you feel. We are an emotional generation, but I think that once you remove the burning desire and necessity for people to achieve acceptance from their peers, and instead start to recognise that as you get older and you change from being 18 to where I am now, closer to 28 and then 38, friendship and acceptance is less about having acceptance from the masses. It's less about breadth and how many, and it's more about depth and how much. So if you can stop caring what people think and start caring about how you feel, does something you're doing reward you emotionally? Does it make you feel good? Do you feel positive? Does it release endorphins? Does it give you the dopamine hit that you deserve from taking action? If so, keep doing it. And I'd go one step further in that and say, if your motivation is purely to prove people wrong, that happens in your late adolescence and in your early 20s. You're really trying to say, I'm going to prove my science teacher wrong. I'm going to prove my uncle, auntie, mum, dad wrong. I'm going to prove my friend wrong. But as long as you're proving somebody else wrong, the emotional reward then lies in their hands, because when you do prove somebody wrong and then you go, told you so, they say to you, I always believed in you. The only reason I said you couldn't is because I wanted to motivate you. Well, that's bullshit. It's not because they wanted to motivate you, it's because they wanted to restrict you, hold you back, and they doubted you. And now that you have proved them wrong, like the general public who said, don't invest in X as soon as it performs. I always knew that was going to be a good stock. Those same people will always jump ship and change and get on the new bandwagon as quickly as is possible. So stop proving people wrong, start looking to prove yourself right, stop caring what people think and start caring how you feel. When you learn to ultimately internalise, a lot like this live video, I've got people sat around me right now that are cutting me dodgy looks thinking, why is this guy talking into his own phone? Who does he think he is? Does he think he's some sort of Gary Vaynerchuk? Well, no, that's not what this is about. This is as much about you guys receiving information as it is about me being able to outwardly validate my own beliefs and therefore reaffirming them to self. So, I'd definitely say it's time to internalise. Worry about number one. You're the person that you need to go to bed with at night, and as long as you feel good, you'll look good. If you look good, you'll be good. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Number 4, how do I find a passion in business? I will just repeat, I'm currently at the Gold Coast Airport for anybody that's recently tuned back in. I am about to fly to Melbourne. I'm going to be heading down there for a few days to train a luxury travel brand, Luxury Escapes, right in the heart of Melbourne, dead opposite the Crown Casino. So always enjoy Melbourne, always nice to go there when you're from the Gold Coast. Very, very different culturally and socially. So nice chance to be able to get down there and work with a brand new team and share some of the wisdom that I've acquired over my 13 years in business and in sales. But yeah, working through some questions, have 10 questions set aside that have come through text and email and phone call and from our training sessions last week. Currently moving on to question 4. With that being said, if you are watching this video and you do have a question that you'd like me to answer, you will always take priority. So pop those questions into the comments section. Question number 4, how do I find passion in business? I know I will be a business owner, I'm just unsure what business I'm going to start, and I don't want to just start a business for the sake of it. So I would totally agree with that. Firstly, I respect the way you frame the question. There is no point in starting a business for the sake of it. Businesses started for the sake of it, and all businesses started purely for the desire to make money are often businesses that fail. You have to be passionate about what you do. You have to have a big enough why. Your why has to be greater than you're not now. Otherwise, those 50, 60, 70, 80-hour weeks, especially the 80-hour non-profitable weeks, or even further than that, the 80-hour weeks where you've lost money, if you want to continue dedicating and being disciplined enough to see a business through the first 12 to 18 months where 8 out of 10 businesses will fail, then it's absolutely essential that you have a big enough passion for what it is that you're doing. So I had this question pop up when I was hosting a seminar. We actually hosted a seminar last Wednesday at the Novotel in Surfers Paradise, and this question popped up. And someone said to me, I want to start a business, I'm an entrepreneur, I have the desire, I just don't have the knowledge of what product I'm going to truly commit myself to. So I always answer that question the same way. I say, forget about what you want to sell, forget about what problem you want to solve or what solution you want to create. Decide what it is that you love to buy. If you love buying something, if you love consuming something, and if you had enough money you would do it every single minute of every single day, then it's likely that you're going to have the desire to help other people to do the same. So whatever it is you love buying, you'll love selling. Whatever problem or solution you're looking for to the problem you have, as long as it's not a really quirky, unique, niche problem that only you are having. If it's a problem you see your friends having, your family having, your colleagues having, your teammates in sport having, over and over again, but you don't feel like at the moment there's a common solution to it, then the likelihood is that you're going to back that solution with enough passion to drive it into the market with purpose. So yeah, find something that you're passionate about by looking at how often you would want to use it. If you see it being something you'd want to do or want to use for the rest of your life, then it's likely that you're going to be able to provide a solution that does the same for others, would be my answer to that question. We're nearly halfway through this video. I can't believe how quickly this hour goes. And it makes me realise that when you come into my training programs, anybody that has been with me on the Gold Coast and has come into an 8-hour training program with me, and I talk at this speed for the entire 8 hours, and I still feel like I haven't scratched the surface of the content that we would be able to share with people, I probably don't appreciate why they're so overwhelmed, but I also don't think I truly appreciate where the 8 hours just disintegrated to, because there's always so much we can cover and so much we can discuss. But for anybody that does find that it's a little bit overwhelming to try and digest this much information at once, do bear in mind we do offer digital training programs as well, where you will have a collection of over 100 5-minute videos, little bite-sized chunks on everything personal and professional development, everything business and sales, so that you can engage them at your own preferred speed. You can engage them at the times of the day that are most appropriate for you, and that will then give you an opportunity to be able to reflect and reframe on those as and where necessary. So yeah, keep your questions coming in. As we had expected, there's not as many people engaging this live. What I do love about live videos is this is going to remain online for the next few days, and people are going to have an opportunity to watch it at their own time and at their own speed. So even if this video isn't live and it's not between the hours of 3 and 4 p.m. on Monday afternoon when I'm at the Gold Coast Airport on my way to Melbourne, and I'm offering some practical sales training and business training advice, still feel free to inbox my business, inbox me personally, comment on this video with anything you wish you would have asked. We will always make the effort to re-engage at a later stage. Now, I'm not sure if it's appropriate, but I'm sat in the window at the moment and I've got the sun beaming into my eyes, so I'm actually just going to put some sunglasses on for a quick second, just so that I can stop squinting and causing lines on my forehead, and hopefully will stop me from aging so quickly. Again, anybody that's with me, pleasure to have you with me. Let's have a little look at question number 5. Question 5 says, how do I stay positive in a performance-based role when my outcomes are often out of my control? Okay, love this. This is very, very common in sales. So if you're often in a lead generation or an appointment setting role, then you may find that you are rewarded based on the amount of sales generated from the appointments that you set. Now, whilst your responsibility is to book the appointment, you fundamentally have absolutely no control over whether the salesperson you are booking it for is having a good day or a bad day, is on good form or bad form, or has the skill, acumen, or knowledge to be able to convert appointments at a high level. So definitely respect this question. I think it'll be relevant to a lot of people that we've put into work over the last couple of years. Just let the tannoy finish. Perfect. So yeah, a lot of people we've placed into work have been into these types of roles in the past. So definitely wanting to give you a little bit of insight into how I would manage that situation. So firstly, I think as a business, it's a business's responsibility to only hold metrics or key performance indicators and therefore incentivize people around what they actually have control of. So I feel like if your job is to arrange appointments, if that appointment is seen and is qualified and you've done your job appropriately, it's at that point that you should be rewarded. You should have a tick in the box to say job done, and you should be incentivized accordingly. But if I am not in a role, which I see in businesses all over the world where that is not the case, and it's actually not until the sale is converted that any revenue is generated for you personally, then what I would do is just focus on myself doing what the business should have done, and only really analysing my performance against what I could do, which is did I arrange the appointment? Did I qualify the consultant? Did I solidify the appointment? Did I give them appropriate knowledge to create the platform for a sale? And if you have ticked all of those boxes and said yes, then at that point I would suggest that I've done my job effectively, and I would get on to making my next call, canvassing my next customer, and continuing to focus on how I could book as many appointments as are physically possible. The reality is that some salespeople are going to be good, some aren't. Some are going to be new, some are going to be senior members of the team. Some are going to be better at closing businesses, some are going to be better at closing consumers. So yeah, focus on what you can control. That's in life in general, you know. I see so many people getting upset, getting, you know, kind of emotionally invested in things that are totally out of their humanistic control. Now, if you allow your emotions to be determined by something that is controlled by another human being, then you've now become a creature of circumstance, not a creator of circumstances. So focus on self, focus on what's in control, and optimize against that to the best of your ability. So yeah, well over halfway through this now. That's the 5th question, so definitely going to work through another 4 or 5 questions. Can I just get a confirmation again from the few people that do have engaged live that the picture quality and the sound quality are sufficient? If you could just give me a yes to that, that would be fantastic. And then I'll work my way through the next 5 questions again. Welcome, Jesse Haberfield. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you with us. Jesse, I know that you were unable to attend our seminar last Wednesday, so if you do have any questions, mate, that you would like me to answer today, relevant to management, leadership, business, sales, call centres. I know that you're a manager of a call centre at Core Solutions Australia in Southport, so if you do have any questions, mate, feel free to get them into the comments section. Be more than happy to answer them for you. If not, I'm going to jump into my 6th question. I will just repeat for Jesse having joined. I am currently in the Gold Coast airport. I am sat at a window with the sun beating into my eyes, hence the reason I've got a pair of sunglasses on. I'm heading down to Melbourne, mate. I'm about to go down and train a luxury travel brand, offer them some sales training and some leadership and management advice across the period of the next couple of days before heading back to Brisbane on Thursday to go for some training with the Shark, Queensland Chief Entrepreneur Steve Baxter. I was fortunate enough to win an opportunity to have some training sessions due to being the Gold Coast Young Entrepreneur of the Year this year. So diving into question 6, how much time do I spend servicing my existing clients as opposed to canvassing new clients when starting out in sales or business? Really, really good question. So for me, it really depends on what the product or service is that you are offering, but I often use an analogy talking about catching and eating your own food. So if you think about this from a fisherman's perspective, there's really 3 stages. You're catching fish or catching new food. You are scaling and cooking the fish that you have caught or hooked. And then lastly, you have fish sitting in the bain-marie waiting to be eaten. So for me, the customers that you have already obtained and are looking to retain or reservice or get to purchase or subscribe from you for the second time, they're the fish that are sitting in the bain-marie waiting to be eaten. If you have clients that have already engaged your marketing material, have already accepted an appointment, have already received a brochure, a video from you, then they are fish that have been hooked and are in the process of being cooked and scaled and cooked. And then lastly, if you're looking to engage clients for the very, very first time, then those are clients that are still in the water that you've got bait on a hook and you're looking to catch. So the way I look at it is like this: if all you're doing is eating out of your bain-marie, then eventually you'll run out of food, you will have overindulged, and it may take a period of time, days, weeks or months, before you have the opportunity to be able to eat again. So that alone I don't think is sufficient. If you're constantly spending time cooking and scaling food, then number one, you're going to go hungry, and number two, by the time that you finish cooking and scaling, not only is the first fish that you've cooked and scaled going to now not be hot, not be edible, but also you're not going to have any new fish that have been hooked, caught, and are ready to be scaled and eaten again in the future. But at the same time, if all you're doing is catching and you're not doing any scaling or eating again, you'll go famished and you won't have the opportunity to dine. So I feel like there is definitely a combination that is required between the three. And I'd say in my first year of business, I would work on the 80-20 principle. If I have 50 hours in my working week, I would say I would use 40 hours in the first two stages in obtaining and or landing and then obtaining customers that are transacting with me for the first time, and 20% of my time spent servicing and retaining the customers that I already have, the fish, eating the fish that are in my bain-marie. But over time that can begin to even out, so it might go 70-30, 60-40, and eventually 50-50. But the reality is that if you don't service the customers you already have, then they are not going to be delivered a level of customer service that makes them want to purchase from you for a second time. They're not going to begin to refer their friends and family to you, and they're not going to offer you the 5-star reviews on Facebook and Google. That my business is very fortunate to have nearly 500 open source 5-star reviews. You don't obtain those if you don't deliver on the expectation of your consumer. So it is absolutely essential that an appropriate amount of time is designed to the service, because service doesn't always make money. As a matter of fact, it often costs money. It often requires an investment to be able to service existing clients. So it's very easy to just focus on generating new business, but again, just having more and more customers piled in, but no back-end solidification of those customers really is a non-self-fulfilling exercise. It's a non-rewarding exercise. So in answer to that question, I'd work on the 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle of spending my first year 80% obtaining new clients, 20% of my time servicing the ones I already have, and making sure I optimize that time I am servicing, and that can begin to equalize over a period of time whereby the repeat customer of your clients is sufficient to be able to service you or at least meet a bottom line expectation against your revenue, and then new client acquisition doesn't become as an essential component. You can actually begin to really automate your new client acquisition through the digital media streams that are available to us in the modern day. I hope that answers the question. Jesse, as I say, mate, good to have you with me. I'm sure you're in the middle of managing your team right now, but if you do have any questions, mate, anything that you would like to ask, then feel free to pop those in, mate. I'd love to answer any questions that you may have. Diving into question number 7, I've got 24 minutes left of this video. I'm hoping I will be able to work through these last 4 questions so that I'm pumping out 10 different pieces of information in the space of one video. Anybody that does wish to attend a seminar with us, we are running another seminar at the Royal Pines Golf Course, the RACV function room, which is technically in Carrara or Emerald Lakes. On the Gold Coast. That's going to be on the 28th of February, running from 5:30 until 8 p.m. 5:30 till 6 will be a really good networking opportunity, a chance for you to meet some like-minded entrepreneurs and business owners. Generally have in the region of about 40 to 60 people that will be attending on that night, so great chance to tell them about your business, get to know about theirs, and see how you might be able to collaborate with one another. Sorry if the video just froze there. I actually just received a phone call, which I think caused my phone to pause. But from 6 until 6:10 will be a brief introduction from my business partner and co-Gold Coast Young Entrepreneur of the Year, Ryan Tuckwood, who will give you a little bit of insight into what we're going to cover on that night. And then lastly will be myself from 6:10 until 8 p.m. We're going to just be focusing purely this time. Last time was business startup. The first seminar that we did of the year was about the 5 stages of business, how to go through seed into startup, into scale, automation, and the exit phases of business. The last one was more about how to actually optimize the early stages, the seed and startup stages of business, and how to go through the 6 stages of customer journey, how to identify, reach, land, obtain, retain, and advise a customer. But this time it's going to be straight sales. We're going to be talking for 1 hour and 50 minutes on the key fundamentals to selling with integrity and selling honestly, how to build a loyal client base who have been wowed by your company's service and how to ensure that you close every single lead that your company generates that is closable, whilst maintaining your morals and your ethics at the same time. So I've got a question here from Jesse. What techniques do you use to manage your time efficiently, track and prioritize jobs and tasks for the day and the week? Now, Jesse, with the utmost respect, mate, my time priorities and how I track it are possibly going to be a little bit different to you because of the fact I'm in a slightly different career, if you will. But for me, I optimize where I can add value. So for me, time is simply an exchange of value. Now, value can come in a few different facets. How can I add value to my consumers? How can I add value to my staff? And also, how can I add value to myself? Now, when I'm talking about value to myself, it's not just about how can I make more money. That's a big part of it. I love making money. I've been very fortunate to be of middle and high income now for several years. And for somebody that comes from very, very humble beginnings, it's created an opportunity for me to change my life. So I definitely look at what's generating revenue, what's making me the most money, what am I getting the most fulfillment out of, what am I getting the most satisfaction out of, and how can I double down on doing that as often as is possible. But what I would do is start to have a little bit more of a planned structure to your day. So I knew today, before I even went to bed yesterday evening, I knew every single minute of what my day was going to hold today. So I knew that I would be up at 4:55. I knew I would be in the gym at 5:10. I knew that I would come home, get showered, I would read 14 pages of my book, I would eat my breakfast, I would get into my office for 7:15. Between 7:15 and 8 I was going to have a one-to-one training session with Chris Blackburn. I knew from 8:30 until 9:30 I was going to be training service.com.au. I knew at 10 o'clock until 11:30 I had interviews. From there I knew I was going to transition my day into working with my own team. Then I was going to head down here to the airport, do my live video, fly to Melbourne, and even to the minute on when I was going to land at the airport through to the email campaign that I'm going to be setting up through the course of this evening, nothing in my day happens by accident. So I would suggest to you that that life is lived by choice and not by chance. And your day is going to unfold in accordance with what you design to do in it. So, for instance, the phone call I've just received right now from a gentleman who is one of the heads of an organisation called Boost Reviews, he's not in my day today. At no point in my day had I factored time to have that conversation with him. So unfortunately, I prioritise self. I don't let circumstantial emails or phone calls interrupt my day. I have a tunnel vision. I remain accountable around my day. So often, if you just grab your to-do list, select the 5 to 10 things that are most integral for you to complete today, eat the frog, get rid of the most challenging things. So if you've got a difficult phone call that needs to take place, if you've got a disgruntled customer, if you've got a staff member that's underperforming, or you need to let somebody go, whatever it might be, whatever's the thing you most don't want to do in that day, do it first. Because otherwise if you put it off once, you'll put it off all day, and all of a sudden it will be tomorrow. And I promise you, it's better to start your day with a negative and get it dealt with and move on than it is to end your day with a negative, leave the office, carry it all night, allow it to affect your emotions when you get home, to your daughter, to Priya, your beautiful partner. So yeah, Jesse, my answer to that would be optimize your time, build to-do lists, and let your day be lived by choice and not by chance. When you ultimately have control and you remove any variables, you will become so efficient. And then around that, set yourself some key performance indicators. What metrics do you want to assess your performance against? Analyze them daily, weekly and monthly, and make appropriate changes to the choices you're making if you feel you're falling short on those metrics or targets. So hopefully that helps you, mate. Into question 7, what routine sets you up for a massive day? Well, I think I basically just answered that question, really. Everybody's routine's different, but for me, it's about structure, it's about consistency, and it's about discipline. I don't want to wake up at 4:55 in the morning, I don't, but the reality is that that's when I need to get up if I'm going to allow myself to achieve everything in one day that I feel is appropriate to being elite, to being a mastermind, and is to being the number one performer in my industry. So the reality is that if I'm up at 5 o'clock and I'm in bed by, let's say asleep by 10 o'clock, the reality is that I've got 7 hours sleep. I feel for most human beings that's going to be more than sufficient to operate. But the reality is that outside of those 7 hours, I have 17 hours that I can assign towards achieving all of the personal and professional goals that I have for myself. So I start my day with training in the gym. I feel like it's a great way to start the day. It doesn't matter how intense a session is. You're up, you're out, you're physically engaging your body, you're releasing endorphins, you're activating your metabolic rate. I find it absolutely essential to eat early in the day. At the end of the day, you wouldn't drive your car long distances without petrol. I don't know why you intend to run a busy day where you're operating at peak performance without having some fuel in your body. From there, I like to read. I like to, whether it's an audio book, whether it's a video, and I'm not talking about videos of watching dogs chase chicken around fields or, stupidity. I'm talking about educational information, motivational, inspirational information that's going to get you into a mindset that's appropriate to having an elite performing day. And also water for me. I'm from the UK. I grew up in housing commission. I grew up in a terraced house. Where, in paper-thin walls where I can hear my neighbours snoring next door. And unfortunately, I never had the luxury. In my entire city, there is one swimming bath to be shared between 180,000 people. So I'm very fortunate to have a swimming pool at my property. For me, it's a case of get home from the gym, get in the water, wake up the mind, body and soul. And then from there, I usually like to start the morning by giving gratitude. If I can, I'll always, not every single morning, and it doesn't always manage to happen, but certainly on every morning where the time is available to me, I will look to send anywhere between 3 to 5 messages to people who have had an inspiration on my life. Sometimes that's a public figure. Sometimes it's an author, sometimes it's a friend, a family member, a colleague, where I just say thank you. I'm grateful for having you in my life and for having had the opportunity to be exposed to you. And I use the information or the love or the care that you've shared, and I use it as the catalyst to get me out of bed every single morning and try and change people's lives. So that would be my answer to how to look to be elite in your performance every single day. 15 minutes left. I've got 3 more questions that I'm going to plough my way through. Jay Dickens, I am at the airport, my brother. I'm actually at the Gold Coast airport at the moment. I'm flying to Melbourne this afternoon. I am working with a luxury travel brand called Luxury Escapes down in Melbourne over the next 2 days. I'm blessed, man. I honestly don't think I ever imagined that companies would pay thousands of dollars, and let's get it real, I don't come cheap. My time comes at $500 per hour, and companies are booking me in 16-hour time slots to come and fly halfway around the country to teach their staff. Even though they're turning over hundreds of millions of dollars a year, they believe that the information I have to share is going to be relevant with their team. So heading down to Melbourne, I'm going to be training them tomorrow and Wednesday. Have also put myself enrolled into a poker tournament at the Crown Casino on Tuesday night, so wish me luck. Top prize $250,000, so I'm hoping that I can get close to getting a good win on the poker table on Tuesday night. And then I will be back to Brisbane on Thursday, have training with the Queensland Chief Entrepreneur and Shark, Steve Baxter, the gentleman who started TPG. Anybody in America and Australia that's had internet or phone connections over the last 10 years will probably know about TPG. Working with him before heading back on Thursday night to be chief auctioneer and guest speaker at Creating Ripples, which is a foundation that we sponsor for women in business, and we'll be really focusing on trying to bring some public attention to all the fantastic young entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs on the Gold Coast, and look to try and create some sponsorships and back in some funding so that some of these young girls can take their ideas and turn them into actual tangible products and services and businesses and concepts that can solve some of the community problems that we're experiencing on the Gold Coast and in Australia in general. So thank you for your question, Jay. Always good to have you. Question number 8. What do I do when I have to dip into my savings? Good question. First of all, don't beat yourself up about it. We've all dipped into our savings from time to time. You're not the first. You're certainly not going to be the last person that has to do that. But what I would probably look at is cause and effect. So don't just look at the effect, which is I have to dip into my savings because at the moment my spending money hasn't been sufficient to meet my outgoings. But I would more so look at the cause. The cause may be that you have overspent socially. Maybe you've been too generous, you've bought Christmas presents, birthday presents, you've shouted people at dinner. You may have overindulged, you may have purchased personal possessions for yourself that maybe weren't appropriate at that given time. You may be overextended, you may be renting a place that's too expensive. You may have financed a car that you maybe couldn't afford. You may have credit card debt where interest is getting on top of you. So I wouldn't just look at the fact that I have to dip into my savings. If you have to do it, you have to do it. It's a reality at the end of the day. Bills need to be paid. And so I would focus less on the effect and more on the cause. What has caused me to need to dip into my savings? And then what I would look to do is to either reframe my savings program, and as opposed to saving 40% of my income, which means that the 60% is not creating the capacity for me to live, and maybe go 70-30, 65-35, so that you don't have an emotion of guilt or shame around having to dip back into the savings. And also creating force of habit that it's okay to do that. Or secondly, I would more so look at the cause and say, if it isn't the fact that I am mismanaging my money, but maybe if I am in a revenue generating role, i.e. a commission based role in sales, which I know is the vast majority of people that follow me, have I built a budget around earning X amount of commission and I'm falling short of that expectation? If it is, okay, let's not look at the effect of I'm not earning enough money again. Let's look at the cause. What am I doing differently? How can I sell differently? How can I engage my customers differently? How can I make more sales to therefore make more money? So I often give an example in my training. I actually did this morning at service.com.au in Surface Paradise, and I talked about saving money. There's two ways to save money, which is to earn more or to spend less. When people often say to me, I'm just not managing to get ahead, I'm just not managing to save money, I always say to them, look, if you earn $40,000 a year, which is the average income on the Gold Coast for a bulk standard operator, if you're earning $40,000 a year and you're spending $39,000 a year, then you'll have $1,000 left to invest. If you want to increase your savings by 400%, you only need to earn 10% more. If you go from earning $40,000 to $44,000 and your lifestyle stays the same, where you spend $39,000, you've just increased your savings from $1,000 to $5,000. If you can increase your savings by 400% per annum over the 30 or 40 years that you're going to work, you will have significantly higher increase in your net wealth and the funds that you have to be able to retire. But if you're in a role where you're a labourer, and I mean that in the most respectful way possible, I call my fiancée Brielle a labourer. She's not, she's a registered nurse. She works in the special medical unit at the Gold Coast Hospital, but the reality is she swaps her time for money. For every hour she goes to work, she gets $37 per hour. Whether she works hard, whether she slacks off, whether she is somebody that wakes up having a good day or a bad day, whether she's on top form or she's feeling a little bit low, 1 hour equals $37. So she can't increase her income because she's limited to the amount of hours she's able to work, which is 38 hours per week. So if instead of increasing her income, what she needs to do is to minimise the amount she's spending. So if you look at the same principle, if you're earning $40,000 and you're spending $39,000, if you can reduce your spending by 11%, you will come down from $39,000 to $35,000, meaning that you will have left yourself in the exact same net position. So you might think you're a million miles away from being able to save or being able to increase your savings, but the reality is earn 10% more, spend 11% less, and you'll be a hell of a lot closer. If you want to look at where you're spending money inefficiently, coffee, $5 a cup, be coffee clever, go to 7-Eleven, it's $1. I'm being dead serious, like with the utmost respect. I'm a self-made millionaire and I still every single day buy my coffee for $1 because the difference between making money and having money is how you decide to utilize the funds at your disposal. So if not, look at alcohol, look at food. If you're going out every lunchtime and you're spending $15, $20 on food, well, it's $100 a week. I know for an absolute fact that if you went to Coles or to a wholesale fruit and veg seller or to a butcher's, you'd probably spend $50 or $60. You'd be eating food twice the quality for half the price, with larger portions that at the same time are offering more sustainable energy to you, which is only ever going to allow you to operate and perform at a better level. So that would be my answer. What do I do when I have to dip into my savings? When you have to, and needs must. Don't create a habit out of it. At the same time, don't hold guilt and shame around it. Don't look at the effect, look at the cause, and look at reframing your savings plan. Earn more or spend less. I do have 8 minutes left, so I'm going to try and get through these last two questions. As you can hear, guys, I am in the airport at the moment. I'm at the Gold Coast airport, and I've said this about 6 or 7 times, but I've got new people joining this video every single minute. So I am heading to Melbourne. I'm going to be there for the next couple of days, so I apologise for the tannoy that's in behind me. And for a little bit of background noise and disturbance, but I did make a commitment every single week to doing Facebook Live for 1 hour, and unfortunately, apart from this 1 hour today, my schedule just simply is not going to afford me to do this again. Tomorrow and Thursday, I'm training a luxury travel brand down in Melbourne. I've got a poker tournament on Tuesday night. Thursday, I'm training with Chief Entrepreneur and Shah Steve Baxter before being the guest speaker and chief auctioneer at the Creating Ripples Ball, which is for young women in business. And then Friday is actually the day that I spend with my team before I play golf in the afternoon. Friday afternoons is my day when I have a little bit of work-life balance and an opportunity to be able to play some golf. Saturday I have cricket, and Sunday is the day I always spend with my family, my brother, my sister, my wife-to-be, and my young nephew Theo. So yeah, no other opportunity this week but now. So 7 minutes to go, 2 questions to finish. Someone called me and I didn't save their number. How do I approach the call back? Look, if you're a cold caller or a canvasser or a business development manager, this is going to happen to you all the time. You're going to call a phone, you're not going to save every single number that you outwardly call, and you are going to receive a call back, and bearing in mind you've made 30 or 40 calls, you're not going to have the opportunity to know exactly who that person is. So 2 ways that I would deal with it. Number 1 would be, if you have capacity, dive into your CRM, type the number in that's calling you, and look to obtain the first name of that person. If you have it, great, greet the person personally. If you're unable to do that with a level of efficiency, what I would do is pick up the phone, and I would immediately, you say hello, they would say, hi, I'm just returning your missed call. Instead, what I would do is be proactive, not reactive, and say, hi buddy, thanks for giving me a quick call back. How's your morning been? Or how's your afternoon been? Start things on a most personal level that you can. From there, you'll engage them and go, yeah, I've been well. Yourself? And what the internal dialect is saying is, who is this person, why are they calling me, and what do they want? But because you've greeted them on a more personal level, they'll actually withhold from asking that question, and they'll hope that the penny will drop for them. So what I would do then is try and boost their ego and say, look, with the utmost respect, I haven't had the luxury of saving your number in my phone at the moment, so just to make sure that I don't think that you're somebody that you're not, just confirm with me, mate, who am I speaking to? At that point, they'll usually give the person that they're talking to. That will allow you to trigger. If they go, oh, it's, Joe Bloggs, you should go, oh, great, Joe Bloggs from ABC Limited. As they're saying that, the whole time you're talking, you should have had an opportunity to type their number into the CRM. It should have appeared. And if they tell you their name and you know the name of their business immediately, again, it has that little bit more of a personal touch and makes it feel like you're not just cold canvassing or calling them randomly, but you're actually calling them with a purpose or with a level of intent. So my 10th and final question, I committed to getting through 10 questions. I do have 4 minutes left to wrap this up. Before I do that, I will close out by saying we will be going live again next week. We will be doing it at a more appropriate time of the day, which is generally we're finding that sort of 6 and 6:30 p.m. is the best time for people. They're home from work, they're settled at home, children are fed. They've got a chance to sort of have a notepad and pen at their disposal. They're not getting in trouble for secretly listening whilst they're at work. And also an opportunity for our UK and our European-based following to start the day sort of 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 a.m. in the morning, get their day started by answering some questions around business, sales, personal growth, development, and all things, being a superstar. So my 10th and final question. I'm on a call and I'm about to close the customer, and something like the fire alarm goes off or there is a significant disruption. Do I keep going? Or do I organise another time to contact them? Tough question. Number 1 philosophy in sales is that time kills deals, and wherever possible you should always look to try and execute a sale if you have the customer on or around the buying line. With that being said, I believe that you should never attempt to close when the customer does not have the capacity to do business with you. So another example of this is not just looking to close when a fire alarm's going off, but it's also looking to close the customer whilst they're driving. I'm firmly of the belief that before you ever ask the customer to commit to the purchase of the product or service that you're offering, or ask them to give you their credit card details, you should ask them to pull over on the side of the road, advise them that it will only take a couple of minutes, and then look to close the transaction. So for me, you will often sabotage or potentially affect a deal if you ask somebody for their business when they're not in a position to be able to give it to you, even if that is their desire. So if the fire alarm was going off, I would make light of it, actually make fun of it. What's the chances? I've worked for this business now for X amount of time. This is the first or second time we've ever had a fire alarm go off. It must be because of you. Just make tongue-in-cheek out of it, and then instead of that, say, look, I'm going to pay you the respect. Instead of trying to talk over this with a significant noise interruption in the background, why don't I do this? Let me quickly deal with this matter at hand. I'm probably going to need to go outside, and the second that I return, I'll give you a quick call back. I assume you'll be available in 20 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour. Look to arrange a time. When you do re-engage the second conversation, What I would do at that stage is actually do a slight recap. So if you look at our process called the negotiation ladder, anybody that's trained with ISR understands we have a sales strategy, which is a 12-step process to create the customer for life. What I would actually do is take one step back in the ladder, as opposed to just calling them back up and trying to pick up where you left off, which is by asking them for their business. I would take one step back, I would reaffirm some of the features and the benefits, reaffirm some of the customized reasons why their desires match the product or service that you're offering, get another couple of confirmations that this is something that they have the desire to do and that is going to work for them and meet their expectation, and then I would revert back into looking to close that transaction again. So Tom Irvine, good to have you with me, mate. Hope you're well. I apologise that you've actually just caught us in the last 2 minutes of this conversation, but I will close out by once again thanking everybody for being with us. Tom Irvine, another big Villa fan, mate. Fortunate enough to be doing this video in my own clothing. I've actually got a pair of Aussies call them thongs, British people call them flip-flops, Kiwis call them jandals. But yeah, I'm in a pair of ripped jeans with a polo shirt and a pair of thongs on, so good to feel comfortable when doing this. As anybody who knows me, I don't feel comfortable in a suit. It's not who I am as a person, but it obviously is a requirement for the representation of the business and the brand that we are at ISR, and a person that I guess I need to outwardly project to my clients. But anybody that does wish to learn a little bit more, I am going to be back on live next week. I will be answering all of your questions. Yes, Jay, mate, I got the luxury of catching the last 9 minutes of the Super Bowl today, and yeah, it was actually quite astounded that the Philly Eagles won it. I felt like the second half drives that Tom Brady was on, and the fact that they hadn't once stopped them from scoring in that second half, I thought it was just going to be Patriots again, as always. But yeah, nice to see an underdog and nice to see someone different winning it for a change. But yeah, we will be going live again next week. Hope I can have everybody joining me. But if not, anybody on the Gold Coast, jump onto our website, jump onto our Facebook page, get yourself subscribed onto our next seminar, which is going to be Wednesday the 28th of February at the RACV. Without meaning to upset anybody, it does sell out quite quickly. I know there was at least half a dozen people that are a bit disappointed that they couldn't get a ticket to our one at the Novotel last Wednesday, but look, the reality is there's only one size to the room, and once the seats are full, they're full. So don't think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow or I'll do it later. Do it today. If you want to learn everything sales, you want to learn how to build a strategy that's going to help you to close every single lead that's closable, generate more revenue for your business, succeed in the industry that is negotiation and consultation, then it'd be our absolute pleasure to have you with us. But apart from that, enjoy your day, God bless, continue to do everything that is self-fulfilling, and I look forward to catching up with you guys again in the not too distant future. Mañana.